The beautifully designed new middleweight from Kawasaki that could potentially be one of the best retro sports in the class, the Z650RS. Up against Yamaha's offering that's been a fan favourite for some time now, being notorious for popping that front end, the XSR700. If you're looking to buy a brand new, retro-inspired, fast and cool learner bike, it would really only be between these two machines. G'day, I'm Kwackajack, and welcome to another episode of the Versus series. This is where we take two similar bikes that you might be looking to choose between and put them under the magnifying glass to have a detailed specs comparison. In this episode, we've got two stunning modern classics in the Z650RS and XSR700 going up against each other to analyze the styling, claimed engine and power specs, exhaust notes, weight, suspension and brakes, fuel economy, features and price to see where they stack up and which comes out on top. Although here in Australia only the LAMs or restricted models are available, both of these bikes have got high and low powered models in different parts of the world, so I'll be including the information for both of those too. So make sure you stick around to the end to find out which of these two bikes takes the win in this matchup, and if you could do me a huge favour and leave a like on the video and hit subscribe if you haven't already to join our awesome community of moto lovers. Alright, let's get straight into it and have a look at the styling of these two beauties. The original Kawasaki Z650 was introduced back in 1977 and was widely regarded as a favourite, being considered an absolute weapon in the 600cc class. And, well, with the incredible popularity that the higher powered Z900RS version garnered when it came out a few years ago, it was only a matter of time until they brought out a tribute to the smaller 600cc line. Featuring distinctive styling notes like the classic round LED headlight, needle instrumentation, and 70s influenced bodywork and colours, this new RS is certainly a head turner when seen on the road. I personally love the design aesthetic and think it looks very faithful to the original of which it was based off. It just seems to have those timeless good looks that even non-bike lovers can appreciate, and I'm especially a fan of that emerald green paint scheme. While the Kawi is going more old school, Yamaha has chosen to go more modern retro in their styling. Drawing inspiration from the classic XS lineup of bikes, the XSR has sharper, more minimalistic features and a slimmer overall profile. Also coming in with a heritage-inspired round LED headlight with split projector and round LCD dash, this machine I'd almost describe as being more cyberpunk-esque in design. With more exposed aluminium details and that snub-nosed look at the front end, it's a more compact looking bike. In terms of who comes out on top in this department, it'll be down to personal opinion, with one being more faithful to the original in terms of design, while the other taking its heritage and sharpening it up to create a unique modern take. I personally like the look of both machines a lot, but really love the design of the Z650RS, and I'm a sucker for that green. But let me know down in the comments which one takes your fancy in terms of styling. On to the engines. As mentioned, here in Australia, currently only the LAMs or low powered models are available for each, but I'll include the info for the full powered versions too. On the Kawasaki, you're equipped with the exact same engine as in the very popular Z650, featuring a 649cc fuel-injected parallel twin engine that on the full-powered model produces 67 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 65.5 Nm of torque at 6,500. That is capped at 50.5 horsepower and 59 Nm of torque on the LAMs models here in Australia. Now we know from the regular Z650 that this is a very reliable, torquey little engine that loves to rev thanks to the shorter stroke. Those numbers will have you getting from 0 to 100 Ks in around 4 seconds and up to a top speed of around 190 Ks, so it's definitely no slouch. Having ridden and reviewed the Z650, I can vouch that it's a really fun little power plant and has no problems popping up the front end when requested. It's a cranky little rev monster and provides pretty much the maximum you're allowed in terms of power in a LAMs bike, and a really usable and enjoyable amount on the unrestricted. As for the XSR700, it is equipped with a 689cc liquid-cooled inline twin cylinder on the high output model, which is reduced down to 655cc on the LAMs. So in terms of power, it means you're getting 74 horsepower at 9,000 RPM and 68 Nm of torque at 6,500 on the full powered, and 51.3 horsepower at 9,000 and 57.5 Nm at only 4,000 on the low output. Both versions of the bike do get that juicy 270-degree crank to help provide that greater torque too. This thing is meant to be a rev head and will love to wheelie, especially in first to third gear. Even the Lambs model wants to lift that front end. It'll also push you from a dead stop to 100 k's in around 4 seconds and onto a top speed of around 190. This thing should be a huge amount of fun with that extremely punchy little motor. As for who wins here, it is a close one to call, being almost a tie. But overall, the Yamaha does just take the win. The high output model produces more horsepower and torque, and the lower output model makes slightly more horsepower and a little less torque, but it's accessible lower down in the range. Let's also have a quick listen to the stock exhausts of each. Moving on, and we come to weight. This is a straight tie between the two machines, as each of them come in with a wet weight of 186 kilograms sitting on the road. That should mean they are maneuverable while stationary and be light enough to flick around when going through the twisties. But talking about going through the twisties, we should also have a look at the suspension and brakes. On the Z650RS, up front you are equipped with 41mm telescopic forks, while at the back is a horizontal backlink single shock with adjustable spring preload. As for rider height and ergonomics, you'll be sitting in a comfortable upright seating position with a seat height of 800mm. As with the bigger brother Z900RS, they have given the bike wider handlebars to make for easy handling, so this should be a very comfortable bike to sit on. Also being very similar to the regular Z650, the RS model will be an extremely easy bike to live with. Reviewers claim it to have very light, natural handling that is very rewarding yet forgiving, so consider this a great comfortable bike for the street with some potential for fun weekend rides. As for brakes, at the front you're rocking dual 300mm semi-floating discs with dual piston calipers, while at the rear you have a single 220mm disc with single piston caliper. The RS does come with ABS as standard, and reviewers claim the brakes are reliably powerful with good feel and no fade. You're also getting adjustable clutch and brake levers as an added bonus. Moving over to the Yamaha, for its suspension setup you have 41mm telescopic forks at the front end and an adjustable link type monocross rear shock at the back. Again, you'll have an upright, comfortable ergonomic setup, however, the rider height is sitting a fair bit taller than on the Kawasaki, coming in at 835mm, so it may be a bit tougher to flat foot for shorter riders. The XSR700 has been said to have a great front end feel and be a lot of fun to ride. However, there has been notes of the rear end not always being the most confidence inspiring through the twisties. Really, this machine is meant to be more of a hooligan, and I can see it being an absolute hoot to run light to light with it lifting that front tyre very willingly. In terms of brakes, up front you're equipped with dual 298mm hydraulic discs with 4 piston calipers and a single 245mm disc with single piston caliper at the rear. Coming in with ABS as standard, the brakes are meant to be strong but sensitive and perfectly adequate for a bike of this size. As for which bike comes out on top in these categories, it's tough to say. Both do feature very similar suspension setups, where the Kawasaki's has been tuned to be more soft and easygoing for the road, where the Yamaha's is in a sportier position ready to hoon around town with. I think at the end of the day it'll be down to personal opinion as to which is better on the road, but it is important to note that the Yami does ride a fair bit higher. Both also feature brakes that are more than adequate, with the Yamaha having the slightly larger rear disc and having 4 piston calipers at the front compared to the Kawi's too. Overall for suspension, I'd say it's a draw, with the edge going ever so slightly to the XSR in the brakes department. Again, for how they handle, they are very similar, and will mostly come down to personal opinion when sitting on the bike. Onto an area where we certainly can see a clear winner though. Fuel economy. The Kawasaki Z650RS is only equipped with a small 12-litre tank, and even though Kawasaki claims a pretty good usage of around 26.5 kilometers per litre, it does mean you're only going to get an estimated fuel range of around 315 k's per tank. Now, after scouring the internet researching these two bikes and looking at owners' experiences, it does seem like the average fuel tank range from the RS is closer to 250. The XSR on the other hand is equipped with a larger 14-litre tank and a claimed usage of 24.5 kilometers per litre, which gives us an estimated fuel range of around 340 kilometers per tank. Again, after looking at owners' accounts of the bike, it does seem to be around 270 to 280k mark at which you'll be needing to refill, but that is still a better result than the Kawasaki. Of course, these numbers can vary wildly depending on how you use your new little modern retro bike, but in general, the Yamaha does have the longer fuel range thanks to that bigger fuel tank. I wish Kawasaki would have just made it that slight bit bigger, as I think on anything over 4 to 500 cc's, a 14 litre tank is a must. I mean, I get it because they wanted to give it that slim fuel tank design, but I reckon it's a real L on behalf of Team Green. Okay, let's have a look at what else you get included on these two. The real appeal of both the Z650RS and XSR700 is the fact that they are based on older bikes, just updated to meet the conditions of today. We've seen what they've been given for their engine and turny and stoppy bits, but what about everything else that's equipped? Well, the notable features on the Kawasaki include that retro styling, including candy emerald green paint scheme, assist and slipper clutch, ABS, full LEDs, an eco riding mode, adjustable levers, and dual analog gauges with multifunction LCD dash. I think for the price that you're paying, which we'll discuss in a moment, that's a fair amount of goodies included, with really the standout one being the overall styling. On the Yamaha, the notable features include the modern retro styling, including 2-level seat, full LEDs, a round LCD dash featuring lots of riding details, ABS, and an eco riding mode. As we spoke about at the beginning of this comparison, I think these two bikes, while having the same overall aesthetic, go about it in very different ways. The Kawasaki is more true to the original it is based off, and we can see that in the design, including that analog dash, where the Yamaha is more modern retro with the flashier dash. Overall, the Kawasaki does feature a few more goodies included, like the assist and slipper clutch and adjustable levers, so it does take the win in this category. I also really like the analog gauges and prefer it to the round LCD one on the XSR. I mean, if you're going to have a retro inspired bike, why not showcase that in the design, which I think the RS does more of. But what's all this classical coolness going to cost us? Well, neither of the two are necessarily cheap, with the design and status that the two bikes bring demanding a premium. For a brand new Kawasaki Z650RS here in Australia, you're looking at a price of $13,555 for the black version, with it being an extra $150 or so at $13,711 for the retro green, compared to a brand new Yamaha XSR700, which here in Oz comes in with a price of $14,299 right away. So again, in the price department, the Kawasaki does steal the win. Looking back over the comparison, the Yamaha does slightly edge it out in the engine, suspension and brakes, and fuel economy categories, where the Kawasaki does have a few more features, is cheaper, and I would argue is the better looking bike. Really though, if you're looking at either of these two beautiful bikes, I think you'll be a winner no matter which way you go, with both having beautiful designs, great punchy little engines, and being fun for the streets. The Z650RS will be a terrific everyday bike with a cranky little rev monster of an engine, while the XSR700 is just waiting for you to take it for a spin and lift its front wheel up. If you're after a 600cc modern retro, you can't really do better than with one of these two. But there you have it. Let me know down in the comments which one you prefer and you would have. While you're there, leave any requests for future matchups you'd like to see happen on the channel. So thanks again for watching guys, and till next time. See ya!